aspects, which so often are missed when we're facing the issue, especially in our Black Africa, especially in Sub-Saharan Africa, and especially within our culture. So I'd like to call on everybody to expand the dimension between the physical scars and bruises, but to those we don't see, the aspects that impact that woman silently in her room, silently on her deathbed wall. And that mother who also being the part of the child's life, that father who watches the daughter or the son who has been mistreated, they watch their agony and pain every day. So sexual harassment, violence, a violation of rights. It is not only about women though, it's about men as well. It's also about girls abusing girls. It's also about girls abusing men. So while we're dwelling most on the woman, on the girl child, because they compose the largest vulnerable group, we have to think beyond the girl child. We have to look at society at large. So I want to know your thoughts. I want to see where we go with this so that together we can look at possible solutions, possible remedies to make society better for all. So this will be the context in which we'll be discussing this. So thank you very much for joining. Wally, we can move to slide 2, yeah? I would love it to be interactive. If 5 members of the audience can actually look at this and say what they think about it, where we reframe the girl child for leadership in modern Africa. The girl child lives with a lot. A lot of it is sexual violence. I had somebody text me today and say 65% of girl children in the rural areas are abused by family members. But yet, we're talking about a larger Africa. We're talking about sustainable development, and the woman is important. So for our keynote today, let's look at invisible violence and the visible power it has on the child, that it has on the woman. Again, I would say even on the younger boys, but for women particularly. So if you would honor me with this, I'd love to hear from 5 different people in our midst today. So Wally, I think you can manage that.
Yes, definitely. Please, very simple. Please, like our speaker has rightly said, let us hear from you on this subject. If you have something to tell us about it, what your introduction is, please kindly just raise up your hand and let us know that you have an input to make for us. We are looking forward to hearing from you. So we have Mr. Adefela here. We have Akim Mukhtar here. We have Mr. Ibi here. Let us hear from everyone on what is our basic what is our own view on this particular subject. We want it to be as interactive as possible. This is not a topic that there are different topics. There are some topics that are competency based that you want to learn. There are topics that require dialogue, discussion, and having conversation around it. And I think this is one of those topics. So please let us hear from you. Just raise up your hand or you can unmute. Okay, we have Stevenson. Please kindly unmute, sir. You have the floor. Oni Nwagu Stevenson, please kindly unmute.
Oh, very well. Thank you very much. And thank you for the very interesting topic that you have elected to look at today. I think in the process, I would also like us to look at the role the society plays in probably inadvertently encouraging the violence, especially sexual abuse, because for the girl child, there's a stigmatization that at the end of the day makes it even difficult for some people to speak up. So they stay with the trauma, they stay with the emotional distress that they're going through. And for the male child, perhaps at times, when we say that, if you look at the issue of rape, for example, it is perhaps easier on the society to understand and appreciate, the challenge of the girl child, or the very fact and the existence of the incidence of rape. Now, when it is maybe perhaps a male child that is involved, at times it's like, really? How can the man or the male be talking about rape? But these are realities. I am very happy that Mrs. Berry has said that even the male child is affected, much as our conversation today may focus more on the girl child because they form the larger percentage of the vulnerable people. So I am really interested in having various perspectives from different people today. But again, I would like to emphasize the fact that we need to look at the role the society plays in, at times, inadvertently encouraging, and making it difficult to contain and control this. And also perhaps the police, the authorities that at times, would say, oh, what were you doing? How were you dressed? What were you wearing? Where were you at the time? As if, we're making the victim now to begin to, you just blame the victim. The society, again, makes that possible. I would like to pause here, maybe as we go ahead, I may have other things to chip in. Thank you once again for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, ma. Mrs. Antonia, I think that was a good way to have another different perspective on this subject. What do you have to say about that, ma? While we wait for others to raise their hands also, then we continue if we do not see anyone who raises this or hand.
I think that's a very, very valid point, and we're going to get into that. I think most particularly is the question of what was she wearing, the questioning, the intimidation that the victim further feels when she even dares to speak up. And we will see that the consequences, it's safer to be silent. It's safer not to say anything at all because you don't want to be labeled. You don't want to even indirectly, or they reverse the blame on you because of what you're wearing. I want to admit that we're not saying people should go out and dress a certain way, or we're not encouraging certain habits. But I think what she's referring to are boundaries, right? And also how we look at the support that comes to the one who dares to speak up. So that's very, very important. And we're going to look at that much later. So we've heard one perspective. Now we want to look at the invisible consequence of a very physical act. Not all violence leaves the bruises. Like she rightly said, it leaves fear, pain, anger, and a die-hard obedience to silence. This speaks right to what she said. Every day you relieve it, but you dare not tell anybody. Psychological trauma. It's something to live with. This silently teaches the girl child to shrink before she's seen. Her voice is lost. And she begins to question her worth. Who am I? What am I? Why me? With these questions, we just begin to touch the tip of the iceberg on the consequence of rape. She doesn't even look at how she was bruised, but how she feels. How does she live? And like I said, that guardian, that parent, who sees this young child going wayward and has no clue where they can reach out to help because she is silent. So yes, sexual abuse might be a very physical thing when it happens, but what eats the long term are the consequences. So when we speak of this, we ask ourselves, as a society, are we ready for counseling? How many people go for counseling? How many competent counselors do we even have? We begin to see gaps in society. We begin to ask ourselves, even the law enforcement, are they trained to deal with such? When you walk into a police station to report such, how are they trained counselors that will take you? Are they people that will not stereotype you? What is their capabilities to deal with the consequence of rape? Because yes, arresting and locking up that person is fine, but it doesn't mean that the victim has their life. It doesn't mean that they are restored. It doesn't mean they are getting the help they need. And what is most important, yes, is to make sure they get the punishment they deserve, but most importantly is to support life after the act. So how many of us in our families have these conversations that open up? Every time you wake up, you hear, oh, we're giving women an opportunity. I'm educating my daughter. My boys are very educated. The question is not if they're educated. The question is, what is their environment? Do you really know what they're going through? So what happens after we educate women? Women who can't speak, women who are already dying inside with zero confidence. This talk had physical, sexual abuse, and leadership. A lot of women and a lot of men who have faced this do not make it to leadership. They don't even make it to self-independence. They, in consequence, become a traumatic and a nuisance to society, not because they want to, but because of their own experience and how their lives have been fashioned out. And you see it passed to the next generation. So our question here, especially for women, is not access to education. If I can't speak up, then what am I? If I cannot function normally with how many PhDs, it doesn't matter. So we have to look at how we're grooming women in our society and what physical violence, especially sexual violence, is doing to women again. And I want to say the younger male children, because there are lots of male children that are abused by the nannies. Yeah. And we don't even notice. And when the child says, I often hear people say, oh, shut up, how can it be? Or why would you say that? Oh, she's a good person. We fail to listen to our kids. So we're educating, but yet we're not securing. We're educating, but we're not educating in the essence of it, the open conversation about life, about the ills in our society. So that's the food for thought. Education and functional living as a child who grows up into a very strong adult, capable of living their own lives to the fullest without the draft of any form of overtones from sexual abuse. So, well, if we move to the next one. So I want us to look at this. Can you hear me? So I want us to look at this. Let's look at the pre and aftermath of sexual physical violations, right? Let's not think of it as the act itself. Oh, yes, she was this was this. We have graphic definitions of what happened. You see it online. No, let's move before and after, especially focusing on the after. I'll give you an example. There's a young girl who, the mother traveled a lot, and this is a pre-act. The mother traveled a lot. And of course, the parents' friends always come into the home and they would stay in the house. This girl spends most of her time cooking, supporting. Blessed we're in Africa, so we have people who support and taking care of the house in the mother's stead. The father's friend wanted to date her, and she said no. So poor little girl she was reported for being rude, for not being well brought up. And guess what the father did? Was to beat her up. The beating didn't stop there. Poor girl cried and says, well, why didn't you ask me why I was beaten? I've been suffering in this house. I have a hard time, and you better ask my siblings what I've been going through. And that's what brought out what had been happening. This is pre-act. So you have children molested with sexual words, sexual demands. They might not give in. Some children are strong enough not to do so. But how do we even expose our homes? So you need to redefine your environment to look at things that eliminate your children from such exposure. In the workspace, companies are called to do that. You need to do proper profiling of whom you open your environment to. Now, if this child had been abused, keeping silent, they will continue silent for the rest of their lives. Maybe when the mother goes, she starts sleeping outside, she's not staying in the house, and they're saying this child has gone wayward. There is a reason. But that is a pre-case that never got to a case. But nonetheless, it is still sexual harassment. I skip the actual act and I go to the post. Now, there is a young boy molested, unfortunately, by the house support. This young boy, if you want to know the truth, had issues. And how did the mother notice? The mother noticed that this boy might have been harassed because the boy started wanting to have sex with the mom. From a mental issue, the child doesn't know boundaries. He couldn't distinguish the boundary between different women. And so the mother decided to put a camera in the home. Lord and behold, what she saw, she couldn't believe it. The aftermath for that child, who is a handicapped child, it was a pattern. And if he goes out, he's going to be violating more girls and violating more women because he doesn't know any better. This is a child who already has a disability. And because of a consistent habit in the house, he was going to become a menace in society. How much trauma would that have caused? So let's look at the aftermath and we look at the pre-act. All of those, we want to call them violence. Violence mentally, violence emotionally, violence due to silence. When you're violated, you can't speak. So there is so much more about sexual violence. I still repeat, yes, we're talking about women and the girl child, but most important is about society at large. I don't know if anybody has any contributions to pre-scenarios they want to bring up. And then aftermath, where, I mean, if we had a doctor in the midst or a psychologist, I think they can take us more on that, on more. And then, well, I think we might have to refer or find somebody who can talk to any member here who has witnessed this and who is going through a lot. Because I know that a lot of people go through it, they have it in their spaces, but they don't know who to come to. I don't know if anybody has any contributions to the pre and after before we proceed in more detail. Hello, Wali.
Yes, I'm right here. If you have, please, we want you to have a conversation. We want you to come in to this conversation. The next discourse is about the cause and the consequence that is after of issue of sexual violence and where it starts from based on what our speaker has said. If you have any contribution or any past any story, any like call it story, or any experience that you've had or heard from around you concerning this subject, we would like to hear from you. You just need to raise up your hand. In the absence of none, please, you can okay, we have Mr. Joseph. Mr. Joseph, please kindly unmute. You have the opportunity to unmute and let's hear from you, sir. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I just joined in not some minutes ago, but why I have to raise up my hand is because we have issue of gender-based violence across board. But I understand mostly everybody tends to focus on girls' child because they are most prompt to. But boys also, these topics cost across both gender, both boys and girls, because I have an idea of past knowledge or work in an NGO before, which we've done some research and several studies about the young boys and young adolescent child in the societies at large. More especially, we focused in the southeast at then. But what I'm trying to say, can this topic also address both gender instead of focusing on one? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. Over to you, ma'am.
Yes, no, you're absolutely correct. Because the consequences, which is what we're actually looking at here, not necessarily the physical act, are applicable to everyone. The reason it's termed a she, like you said, is because of the higher percentage for women. So in addressing it, we are in no way minimizing the consequences on men. Typical examples here are that you have known women to accost men and even kill them. You have women who are quite abusive in their way they carry on. Though your dressing does not give anybody the right to trespass, yes, we have people who have gone out and made overt gestures. We even have cases where men are being blamed and are being told that they did what they didn't do. So this cuts across. Even that is another dimension where it would even make any man say, look, I don't want to date anymore. I just want to be on my own. It can freeze a lot of people. So you're very right. But because of the broad spectrum of it, for it to give it any kind of boundaries, that's why we're particularly looking at the girl child. But you're absolutely correct. A lot of children, males, are actually abused. A lot of men grown up are actually abused. A lot of men grown up are actually convicted for crimes that they did not and accused of many things by many young girls for their own personal intent. So it is in no way minimizing the trauma to the larger society and to other groups. I hope that clarifies that, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, then thank you, sir, for please kindly stay in touch while we continue this conversation. So, Mr. Ogene, okay, Mr. Ogenero, is it Mr. or Mrs.? Please kindly unmute, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Please confirm you can hear me.
Loud and clear, sir.
Oh, thank you, sir. I want to first and foremost appreciate the speaker and the organizers for this insightful and a timely discussion. But I want the emphasis to be on exposure, which she has initially mentioned. And this exposure comes from the home and family. Then thereafter, the society. Because many of these children, teenagers, especially female, what really leads to this or led to some of this sexual violence is exposure. And it goes a long way to ascertain the culture that the society is breeding. Because in as much as the exposure is one part of it, if people are disciplined, the tendency to abuse this girl child will not be there. But we discover that even parents expose their female children to these vices. You send your girl child to your relative somewhere and you don't even know the discipline of that your relative. And the girl is left alone. And sometimes because of their age, they take advantage of them. So the exposure is one critical aspect that needs to be handled. Now, how can we, what are the solutions to this exposure? And what is the part of the society when you have confirmed that this girl child or even a male child has been abused sexually, what is the punishment? What are the means put in place to discourage this act? Because it has been there. So these are things that we need to consider. The aim should be to discourage this act. And it starts with discipline. It starts with discipline. But first and foremost, the exposure level should be reduced. Parents, community, and society should not expose the girl child to these vices. Because whether you like it or not, some are firm, like what she said, some may not be firm. Some may be as a result of economic situations. And this thing in the long run becomes a trauma. And that is what affects their leadership role in the society. So the foundation should be dealt with. The consequence and means to discourage it totally should be put in place. Thank you.
Hey. That's interesting and absolutely true. Yeah. As we progress, we're going to look at the call to action. What do we do? What are the different responsibility levels? Where do you start? Where do you begin to empower, again, the girl child or the child, right? And the next few slides are going to bring out an aspect of our society, which, like you rightfully said, is about exposure, right? So we want even—
Sorry, my hand is up, please.
Okay, so go ahead, please.
Before you move on to the next slide.
Proceed, please.
Okay, very well. Thank you. This is Oni. Still on the set for us to talk about pre, and where I want us to look at the moment is to think about how we prepare our children, especially the girl child, to be in a position to resist and to say no. In other words, the awareness on the part of the parents. So, parents or other people who may be in charge, who may be taking care of these children. Now, so how do we, as parents, how were we as parents brought up at our own time? Were we taught? Were we given some basic, call it sexual education that we should be given at a point in time that would help us to notice and identify when abusers are on the prowl? So at times, it is difficult for you to give what you don't have. So for some of our own parents, they did not, for one reason or the other, because of the way they were also brought up and society and the society we find ourselves in, they did not prepare, the today's mothers and maybe daddies also, to prepare them to be able to also prepare their children at this time. So I think when we want to address and part of eliminating and reducing the incidence of this abuse and stuff should be from the beginning, from the training, from the upbringing. How far are we able to prepare our children, to educate them, to know, that these are things could happen at certain stages. We can't pretend that these things are not happening. They are happening. So we had better be ready and prepared to talk about them, to prepare our children, in such a way that they can resist. I am happy to hear about the young girl who refused, who resisted, and probably was now able to speak up. Some people do not have that ability to do that. Intimidate, but growing up at a certain stage, we begin to prepare them for some challenges they would meet in the course of growing up. That could be a very good way to begin to stem the incidence of this. And of course, also encouraging adults, letting the adults to know that if you see something, say something. At times, some of the adults will say, it is not my, may have noticed that there's something fishy. You know, I notice at times where you see maybe some parents allow maybe their drivers to take their the children who are how many olds to school and pick them up and things, you know, and at times I wonder, are they aware of possible things? So even how in the process of bringing up these our children, what steps are we taking to protect them? Be like mother hens, you know? So at times, like the gentleman said, exposure. And exposure could come by way of you trusting them in the hands of predators. So how much awareness? In fact, a lot of parents should be exposed, should undergo training.
Hello?
No.
I think we lost that idea.
Yeah, I
Are you
think
there,
we,
ma'am?
yeah, I think we lost her, but she's absolutely dead on. And you know, it comes from exposure. We must be able to empower ourselves as parents. I want to say on a matter like this, we have enough in our hands to be educated, to read. The past slide said we are given education. The question is not whether we're educated. The question is, are we enlightening ourselves? Are we taking it beyond the classroom to understand the real things that affect life? We're educated in terms of academia? Are we educating ourselves for the functional society in which we're living? A lot of us tend to believe that a degree is enough. No, a degree is not enough when we have to look at social dimensions of life. You're not taught this in a classroom. It's even less than 2% of what you're taught in the classroom. This is for us to go out and educate ourselves and have conversations. So in all you have said, Ma, you're very correct. We need to be able to go beyond what we were told because society is so complex. Look, our parents didn't grow up with social media. Sexual abuse, we're talking physical, but there is sexual abuse online. You will be amazed how many children are addicted to online and pornographic sex. That is abuse of a minor. Because when you're going on that thing, it tells you what is your age. But now you see porns with even teenagers and underage kids. So this sexual abuse is not necessarily physically alone, but we're not talking about the mental aspect of it. We're not talking about the emotional addiction online, addiction to all sorts of things that our parents were not privy to. So to buttress what you're saying, we cannot overemphasize the needs for parents to get educated, especially in all the communication channels that your children are using. Before, it would be an uncle coming home, it would be a friend coming home. Now they are reaching them online. They are reaching them by video. So we have to be more careful. You look at it now, kids are going to university online. Kids are now traveling and living on their own at 18. They don't come back home for every day because of distance. So we also, as adults and as a responsible part, have to engage in the different mediums. I'm not talking about only in the different mediums through which our kids can be exposed. And I think once we get there, we'll have a better understanding of context and how to deal with that. So I don't know if that, so that's a great contribution, but we're going to get into the parental role where we're going to look at it globally, and then we'll now pen down some of those important points that we have to deal with. But all these discussions tie into the next slide, which would be the part of the abusive part of our society and our homes that breeds the inability to speak up. We begin to accept what we should not accept. And again, I'm going to focus on the girl child. In so many homes, in our own homes, in my own home, I've remembered saying, being bold, subtly or directly, you're too much. That child is trying to say something, and all we know to say is, you're too much, right? When you start telling the child, oh, you're not good enough for that, those are mental violations that depletes any human being, especially children. At that point, what happens is she's learning to self-edit. She's reducing herself. So when she's now confronted with something of this magnitude, she begins to edit her own self and asking, was I too much? She even begins to doubt, did I cause it? What did I do to bring this to myself? Rather than saying, no, I know my boundary, you're not allowed to go there. So there are certain words we use every day that violate and bring down the mental barriers to resisting any form of violence. We have to be careful of that. Emotionally, how many of us have kids when they come back? If you didn't get an A, you didn't do well. When you come number 3, what are you told? But what happened? What happened to position number 1? We love our children, and I know that every parent does, but usually we love our children and we show, but even though in entirety, sometimes we show them conditional love. School performance becomes a condition for completely, hey, well done. Love is not performance-based. When you want to empower a child emotionally or any individual, it shouldn't be performance-based. I want to give the case of even married couples. You get home and your husband says, oh, wow, you know, I want to eat this. Oh, I'm feeling really good about things. What happens this evening? I said, but why are you feeling good about? How much money did you leave for food, Jerry? Where you want to talk this one? Guess what? You've alienated that person. The person goes off and does something abusive, even to your relationship, you start complaining. The next thing is this. You must fit the mold of what is agreeable. What is agreeable in society emotionally is you're quiet, you're kind, you don't complain, you don't say anything negative, you don't step your boundaries. So we set in invisible boundaries. And at each point, mentally and emotionally, we're lowering the boundary to resist any form of physical abuse, sexually or anyhow. And this is what causes a big problem for us in our society. So we have to be very careful how we look at emotional and mental violence in our homes, in our school, in our workplaces, all around. Our behavioral way of staying safe is to positively enforce while maintaining clear boundaries about who we are. Even in church, you will go to church, you know, you would have somebody and they're looking at them, you have to bring in so much money. The girls go out doing what they have to do because they have to be seen in church. They have to be seen contributing. People go out and swindle people because of that. So there is no community that is immune from that. We have to look at how we are mentally and emotionally violating boundaries, great boundaries that would uphold society, that would give people the audacity to say no, will give people the audacity to speak up and to have a functional life. We should not lower them through acts of violence. So I think if we have anything on this one, it would be great if we can add to that. So Wale, I'll leave the floor open. If not, then I'll continue on the next slide.
All right, thank you very much, ma. So do you have any contribution regarding this? All right, you can go on, ma.
Now, this cultural aspect, there is something trending. The Delta State Rep Festival. Culturally acceptable? When that is acceptable, what are we saying? Who are you to say no? So there is also systemic violence that has made people not able to say no. When you look at an incident like that, and it is trending, and obviously it's been going on for years, who dare speak up? Even when you do speak up, what is the consequence for you? It has a magnitude of its own. So we're raising the new type of a girl child. You're educated. You must be educated. You must be exposed. You must be ambitious. You're expected to be quiet. You're expected to be accommodating to something as much as a rep festival in your neighborhood. You must accommodate it because society, the culture says it is what we do, right? You cannot even threaten it. You can't come out to protest against it. So we're giving her modern opportunities, but in a traditional setting that limits her. There are also cases for men. In the Yoruba land, you have the festivals that go, whether boy or girl or woman, whatever you are, gender, whatever you're calling yourself, you can't go out on those hours. I'm not saying that society doesn't have the right to have its cultural festivals and all, but I'm saying that in the context, it waters down some of the boundaries we want to seek. How do we say we have a rape festival? Can we find, even if we're not raping at that festival, is there a possibility that we look at it and say, it's encouraging certain things, can we have another name for it? So I would like us to actually discuss this because I'm sure we all saw it trending. I'm sure we all have an opinion, and in our own communities, is it only in Delta State? In how many villages, how many places do we have such? So I think this is a great opportunity for us all to actually respond. If you haven't seen it, kindly watch it and you'll be amazed. Right? So I don't know if, okay, I see Theresa wants to contribute. So Theresa, can you put on your mic?
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening. Actually, this one is very new to me, a rape festival. And even as we were mentioning it, I had to refrain myself from quickly going online to go and see what it is all about because I wouldn't want to miss anything you are saying. I will want you to please, elaborate more on that. But about culture, I've experienced things, even as I grew up, but now we have a name for it. Before, all this sexual violence and all that, even in the society, we know it's happening, but we don't really have a name for it until now when it is coming up. And I have also argued it in some meetings that, okay, what in situation where women tempt, then they said that the man should discipline himself. But what I grew up to know, like the woman now is about 60, 61 years old now, that when she was a baby, around 6 years old, 7 years old, the junior brother to the father will come home, lift this girl up. The girl will be happy that my dad's junior's brother is here. The man will pick this girl up, put him on his lap, and he started abusing her with his fingers. Then, even when it now became an open thing that he was doing that to her and was, sexually harassing her, the first person they will call to, admonish was the mother that this is not something you can open up and talk about. You cannot tell anybody. It is a family thing. And that is how they pushed the thing up, that nobody must say it is an abomination, and all that, and all that. And the brother, that is the uncle, they just talked to him, among the family, what you did to your senior brother's daughter is not good, and all that, and all that. And that was how the thing died. But before the thing would be discovered, the lady was going to about 12 years old, and she had become something else on her own. And like I said, not like that, she's around 61 years now. And she had children for about 4 or 5 men. She's very promiscuous, anything, like that. She's very, very open to men. And when I started now learning about, sexual violence and all that, I can now go back to that woman's story that was what led to. So some people, it will bring frigidity and all that. But to this woman, it just exposed her to become, something like a harlot, a loose woman. And there are so many other ones that maybe as we are going, I can be citing instances. But that is what culture can do. Can keep you silent, can silence you, can say you cannot talk about it, you cannot mention it. Yes, that is also happening in Yoruba culture. I'm a Yoruba, and that one happened to somebody I really know. So, but about this Delta thing, please, ma, I want you to elaborate more on that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. But I would be very honest with you. I have been reading about it and I don't even understand it. I think from the point of the community heads, they are saying they didn't know it. I saw somewhere claims that they didn't know it existed and that they are not actually raping, they just called it that. So there've been a lot of distancing, I want to say, from the community leaders and from the political arm of it. I would say that's where that's coming from, that it doesn't exist because of they didn't know about it. But the truth is, it's a tradition. So when I don't know how to explain, it's not possible to explain how that name exists in the world of today, and how we're now saying that that we never knew about it, but people are openly doing it. So I don't know if we have anybody online that maybe is familiar with that. But for me, this was also my first time hearing that, and I only saw it when it went viral online, that this kind of thing existed. So I don't know if there's anybody who can even help make sense of it at this point. All I know is everybody's having a disclaimer they didn't know. And when you call anybody, we never knew it existed. And that's the authority speaking. Wally?
Yes, ma'am, it's you.
I don't know if we can encourage us. Anybody can give us more on it, but it's just telling us how comfortable we are with rape and abuse.
I think
I just want to say something. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I think I followed it and I make some inquiries about what really happened. Is their tradition. But what they do is that during that period, they don't allow ladies to come out. So any lady that comes out of their house during that period, they just left her. That's the practice. So there again, when they discover there are ladies in this house, even they don't come out, they'll go inside there and rape them. So it has been there. And even the village head, while he was being interviewed in channels, he said, not the village head, that's the prince. That's their prince. They were asking him. He said, yeah, that their juju was coming out and the ladies were there and they said the young boys started chasing them. So just like what the convener said, nobody wants to give a clear cut that yes, it happens. But based on the information, this has been their culture.
Thank you very much, sir, for that insight. Over to you, man.
Hello.
Okay, I think someone wants to ask something. Please go ahead.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Mr. Aninore.
Yeah, my name is Aninore Abdul-Basit. I think I've experienced such because I grew up in Delta State, Ughelli to be precise. And my experience there was that during their festival, they don't used to allow female to come outside. And one of the things I observe is that, we always have men who are hooligans in the society. They want to take advantage of that. And when they are going through areas where they find ladies who they've talked to before and they don't agree with them, they use the opportunity to strike action. So that's my observation on that aspect, which I've experienced no more than 5 times because I leave my secondary school. I finished my secondary school there, primary school, before I left Delta State. So that's my little contribution to this. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay, I like what you just said, yeah?
Okay, I think you have someone else.
Yeah.
Mr. Timpilos, please, can you unmute, sir?
Good evening, all.
Please, you need to remove your earpiece. I guess you are using earpiece.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can you hear me now?
I think it's much better now.
Can you hear me now?
Much better now.
Okay. Once again, good evening, all. And for me, it's not an issue of denial. The police has the ability to investigate and actually find out 100% what usually happens in that community. Then my suggestion to putting an end or reducing it to as low as reasonably practicable, the government should come up with a legislation that is very strong against crime. Penalties, the penalties for rape should equate with some of the penalties for the highest or the most serious crimes that take place in the society, even armed robbery and all that. And that penalties, that area should be a no-go area so that everybody is aware. Like I had a friend from Ghana who were working in a project site, and he made me understand that in Ghana, they have a very strong legislation, very strong, any case of rape, you are going to prison for a very long time, not 5 years, much more, maybe 10, 15 years, case of rape. And that thing is happening in Ghana, and it's actually helping. So they have rape as a very serious crime in Ghana. We can do the same here. Change the, I don't know what law they have against rape, but whatever law they have should be strengthened, reviewed, and updated, and then more stringent penalties should be put in place against rape. When people know that that is a no-go area, I think it will create awareness. And then for the non-reporting, there should be an awareness program, public enlightenment and awareness, to actually inform people and make them know why, the reason why it should be reported. Because when it's not reported, it keeps happening again and again, and then men will take advantage that these things they are afraid of reporting. So to be free for all. So that is my take on this matter. Thank you.
Okay, Chair Phillips, thanks very much for that position, right? But I want to start with a fundamental question, which addresses Ogene. I think he said he lives he's witnessed it quite a bit in Ugedi. When you call a festival the Rape Festival, is it not already calling the act to be? I will let's take you. Okay, please continue. Yeah, your hand is up. We'll see.
All right, thank you very much, Mother. And I just want to bring out something. Sometimes these things, they have been abused. And but the society, the government needs to be fair. The culture does not supersede the law.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, they do things under the guise of culture and religion. And if the government or the society does not uphold the law, these things will keep reoccurring.
Absolutely.
Culture does not supersede the law. The people that are involved in this act, on holy act, they are taking advantage of their cultural system. And if the government is blinded towards that aspect, it will keep occurring. So the government and society should uphold their values, that the law is above your culture. Your culture does not supersede the law. For instance, if you are in a festival, you are doing a festival and you kill somebody, that's a murder case. So your culture does not separate you, it does not give you an immunity over the law. These are things people should know. Like what somebody said, a man that is going after a lady that refused his advances might want to take advantage of the festive period and want to do some things to that girl, which is very wrong. The bottom line is that most people don't report these cases. And the way the law is, if the cases are not reported, there is nothing that the government or even those forces can do about it. But the awareness should be there, and people should know their rights, irrespective of cultural heritage, especially those cultures that are not in line with the laws of the land. Thank you.
Okay, that's great. And I love what you just said, but let's look at this also from this perspective. The word rape should cause an alarm in any household. These men going out and these young men going out to this, They are going out to partake in a rape festival, meaning they find that word a common word of something they celebrate. So I'm even going to the homes. That means I am a mother. They are doing my son is going out to go and partake in a rape festival. And I'm saying you can go. So where is parenting? Where is the enlightenment that we talked about to say, no festival can be called rape, to which you, my husband, you cannot participate. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister. You, my brother, you're going to participate in a rape festival. So where is society before we even talk of the law? So we have made this thing commonplace. They no longer alarm us. So we need to look at us first, which I know one of the speakers in this session said it. Let's own the responsibility for us to live in a society where a festival can be called the rape festival. Let's look at where we are as mentally. Mentally, it is traumatizing for any woman. There's a rape festival, you can't go out. They can call it anything and say women don't go out or men don't go out. First, the name must go so that we leave that word rape, an alarming word, as a rape word that causes concern. It should not be a common word on the street. So our culture has accepted this as normal talking. Even before, should the police even be hearing they are going to a rape festival? No. That's just my opinion. And I'm not from Delta State, I'm from Taraba. But it is not about not being from Delta State. It's about me and you, no matter what part of Nigeria, looking at this thing and saying, there should be no festival called a rape festival. Even if it is that women should stay inside, let's not use serious words carelessly and for celebration. It's like saying there is a murder festival. I hope you understand where I'm coming from, yeah? So we need to look at what we have accommodated, because you see that alone lowers the barriers. So culturally, we are accepting a lot of things and we're making it a system issue. And on top of that,
sorry, please, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is that okay?
Yes, please proceed.
Okay, please. I just want you. Can we confirm that the name of that activity was actually Rape Festival, or is it that people assigned that name to it in view of what happened, so that we are putting across, the right information? Was it really, tagged as rape festival in the community, or is it as a result of what happened that people now describe it as such? That's just what I want to call our attention to. I think
it's a good perspective. My understanding of that, right, is that it's a fertility festival. And the Aluodu festival, but literally translating it, right? It's become a rep. It's synonymous to that because that's what has been happening. So it's a fertility festival with a sexual overtone, and because this has been happening and this thing has been going on, people they've traditionally called it. They've not called it a rape festival. So the official name is Aluodu Festival. It's a fertility festival. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, due to the continuous violence associated with it. So, I mean, for Delta State, that they'll be calling it something else.
Yeah, I think that it might not be right to officially describe it, that is what the name is. I think it's as a result of what went on. And I'm glad to hear someone say that culture does not supersede the constitution of a country. So anything that is inconsistent, any traditional rule or whatever is inconsistent with the provisions of our ground norm, which is the constitution, is automatically not void and should be treated. So I think what transpired at that Niger Delta, a lot should be brought back to question our policing, you know, because they are aware of what has been going on. So there should be a lot of legal perspective to what happened. And even when cultures, you know, I mean, cultures are, how do we say it, are dynamic.
Yeah, evolving.
And so they evolve.
Yeah.
And that means that if there are some things that are consistent with the laws of the land, the system, that is the government, the establishment, should move against such, you know, and you know, by enforcing the appropriate punishment so that it serves as a deterrent. But when it's a system, there's a systemic failure, and these are some of the things that are driving what is happening. So and when I said see something, say something, even so the government itself, the policing, you know, that are, because they cannot claim that they are not aware of what has been happening over the years, but they keep quiet. Even the police claimed that they had interviewed 4 people who said no, they were not raped. And as long as nobody comes forth to say that they were raped, well, they cannot pursue that perspective. Really? What has happened to investigation? So the thing is, it is part of a failed, you know, system and failure of our system and institutions that should move against such actions to see that practices that are inconsistent with our the law, with still maintaining, you know, and progress should. This and we keep quiet for so long. I mean, there are, I don't know, but okay, sorry. Thank you.
No, we understand your passion for this, yeah? And I mean, I think that's commendable. I think if everybody had that passion, we will not have so much of this type of things happening. And I totally align with you. But if something is a recurring decimal, where certain things happen because of this, and culture is transient, culture evolves, principles of values and ethics are the same, but culture, we can look at it and say, what is even the consequence? And maintain that facility festival, but with a different tone. If it is important to the community, we agree. But we can't consistently do what is causing harm, and harm of what magnitude, right? So to get the record straight, yes, it is called the Aliodu Fertility Festival, right? But modern day, and the trending in our social media, they're calling it the Delta State Rep Festival. And as she rightly pointed out, so we're all corrected, it's because of the recurring decimal of what happens around here, that whether due to vindictiveness or whatever, the girls around tend to be harassed. Yeah. So we look at the cultural and the systemic violence. That's an issue of every year. This thing is likely to happen. It's just the system. It's just how it runs. And with nobody speaking up, then the law is claiming they can't do anything, even making it worse. So we've looked at from our homes, the mental and the emotion, and even from society at large, a lot of these things are being condoned because of silence and people not taking responsibility. So this leads us to the modern paradox. A girl is told today, hey, you have to be very successful. You must be independent. But guess what? You're not allowed to intimidate. You're not allowed to outshine. In fact, you have to get married, right? And you can't even speak up. You know, when they come, you have to do this, do this. I'll give you a typical example that most women live these days. We're grateful that everybody, male, female, now has the choice of what they want to do. So we all excel in different ways. In some homes, women excel. In some homes, men excel. In some homes, children have even grown to excel and even provide for the family. But you see a woman might not be able to speak. They will tell you, pretend it is your husband doing it. And then you ask yourself, even when you are working in a beautiful case, you have to pretend. What more in such a case where okay, where there's a bias and society already feels that this is so bad. And you are even worried that it's going to bring stigma to your children, stigma to your in-laws who might just tell you, get out, stigma to your husband whose friends and other people might just shun him because of this, when you are silenced. So there are very successful women who are stigmatized. You know, you're successful, but you're apologetic. You're capable, but you're hesitant. You're visible, but you can never fully express who you are as a person, or where you're coming from, or why you do the things you do. The invisible consequence of a physical act carries us through adulthood. So you see a lot of us women, high flying, riding big cars, vacations all over, but you don't know the demon that haunts that person. Again, it applies to the boy child. So if you have a son, or you are the custodian of any male child, remember there is equally that potential. But for a lot of women, and now this is the twist in all of that. Maybe for our children and the younger ones, or our grandchildren, they are even in a better position because it is more spoken of. I pity my grandmother, my mother, and a bit of myself and my generation where this was completely silent. So you see a generation of broken women struggling to bring up and to raise a society of normal women. I don't know if there's any other woman who would love to share their own perspective on how they see it. Growing up would have been a taboo to even talk about sex, let alone talk about rape. So that's the mother or the grandmother that raised my mother, and my mother raised me, and now I'm raising a child, and my child is raising a child. So you can see a generation of brokenness. I don't know if there's any woman who would want to share their perspective, please. Wally.
Yeah, I'm also looking out.
Okay.
I believe that because of time, maybe we can just move on because it is 6:31 already.
Okay. So somewhere along the line, we have learned to be silent. It is safer for us to accept it as it is. Guess what? Because it is more powerful than us. And the question goes to leadership. You can move to the next slide. Right? You can go to the next slide. That's now the leadership consequence, right? So we can move to the next one. The question becomes, what is leadership for people living with such? The next slide, please. You're right, it's 6:30. Should be wrapping up in 5 minutes. Wally, I'll move to, okay. So I want to take this now because we have where we see the most gaps is in STEM. I'm a woman working in the sciences. Yes, even in something, if I had gone to a school where we were having, I want to say economics, home economics, I'm still better off. But for women, we have more of us in school. But yet, the leadership gaps persist. In our STEM programs, and I want to call for women in sciences, because sciences are driving the world, we're underrepresented. Not because we're not capable, but because we're living in shadows of many things that haunt us. We go to school and we're not able to focus. Anybody with a girl child should particularly take focus. If you look at statistics, only 36% of this profession is by women. The other professions are larger, but in the sciences, it's just 35%. So the confidence of the average girl child compared to the male, this I'm now comparing. The gaps begin at an early age for the reasons of emotional, mental, cultural, and then the things that happen to the girl child, especially at a young age, for which they are not even allowed to talk to, and they grow through life suffering from that. So these gaps are not gaps that we see in the boardroom. No, they are gaps that begin at a very early age. So we are educating, but we're not liberating women. Again, boy, kids, male, the male gender is also affected. But again, this was about the girl child. So I make it all inclusive. For people who are exposed to this, we educate, but we do not liberate. So there's no leadership. Absolutely zero leadership. So when you see things like that, you begin to wonder, how do we now reframe leadership? True leadership is not about noise, aggression, or imitation. It is self-trust. I must have my voice. I trust my voice. I'm brought up to know I can trust what I'm going to say. What I'm going to say is going to make sense to the next person. There must be clarity of your value as a person. When society causes you, remember the slide, when you start self-editing, a lot of things that happen through rape cause you to self-edit. You no longer know your value. There was a mention of economic independence. It's very important. We're not saying take your money to do whatever you want to do. We're saying that you can be self-reliant. And also you can be interdependent and also have others depend on you. We're not saying women take your money for makeup. No, we're saying being ability to take care of self causes us to be able to have the girth or the strength to say that, to say no, and to speak up, because we know that the consequences will not lead to hunger. And the next thing is, we must be able to define our boundaries as people. Power is never given to the girl child. It is only unblocked. And it is unblocked by one, mental, economic, social, cultural, and legislative support. That's how we unblock it. You can't give her power. You can't even give the boy child who has been raped or anything power. But we must understand, starting from our homes, starting from the guardians, starting from the schools, because a lot of these habits are also learned in school. Then we go to the village, our society, then we go to legislature, right? We have to do a bit more to support. So the call to action, I heard a lot of talking about parents, also to women, because we're talking about the girl child. Every woman needs a good mentor. I know a lot of children that will very much do the makeup, but they can never have a conversation. I know that we saw Ashwebi, we saw one kind with our girls, but we cannot talk to them about sexual abuse and about sexual integrity. So I want also that in this, women should speak to women. Women should speak to women to say that gender, you must have capacity, you must develop yourself. Because a lot of women also, they would go to the office, somebody invites you in the night. Come on, let's go and have a discussion in the night. You're looking for a job. You know you're incompetent, right? You carry yourself to go. What the heck do you expect? Now, I'm not saying it is right, but I'm saying that women empowering women, women empowering themselves is a strong tool to negate what also happens to women. We should not seek to be the weaker sex by not empowering ourselves, because it is reverse discrimination to the boy child who is capable, but we're given the job because we're women. We should stop also selling our sexuality for jobs, because it also means that we're giving the wrong impression. So there's also a lot that women have to do as women to also pause that. With respect to the law, I believe there are laws, I don't know. So this is an area I tread very carefully. I don't know if it is in the action, but I know that the law needs to do something. For the innocent ones that didn't go out there seeking it, there need to be some level of empathy in the law on how they deal with matters, not stereotyping it. I hear you were raped. You must have been walking half naked. This must have happened. You must have called it to yourself. So we need the law on our side. And then we speak to the institution, government institutions. So, we have the women's ministry. We have all manner of institutions, including our workspaces, that we all need to come on board to actually work against this monster that does not destroy us only physically, but throughout our lives, mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. So with this, I will leave the call to action open to each and every one of us. You can fill in the gaps in your space, and it would be great if you can share them back. So maybe we'll have a white paper, right, with the brainstorming from this. So Wali, I want to thank you and everyone for being here, and I'll pass it over to you on this one, on this note.
All right. Thank you so much, ma. That is a very engaging and enlightening session which addresses in a balanced perspective the subject matter of gender sexual violence and how to curb it, individual responsibilities starting from self-awareness from the aspect of the girl child, to societal responsibilities and cultural responsibilities, leadership responsibilities, to pave the path, to pave the way, and to clear the path for our female child to leadership by ensuring that whatever could lead to issue of sexual abuse is being addressed, laws, regulation, framework that helps to address this issue of sexual violence, and also from the family, from the home, ensuring that parents, like many of our speakers also said, parents should take responsibility to create self-awareness, to be self-aware of what is happening within the premises of their female child. What is their exposure? What are they exposed to? What are they exposed to in the environment? We are in the digital world. The environment is now more of digital. What are they exposed to from their friends? What do they do? So all these are forms of are the factors that lead to subject matter of sexual violence. And also the male child should also be trained, be enlightened. No matter what you see, it doesn't give you the right to sexually abuse the opposite gender. And our speaker also emphasized on the fact that violence is not only the physical violence. We have the mental violence, we have the psychological violence that happens, we have the verbal way of displaying violence. Every form of violence should not be taken for granted, and everyone should play their role in ensuring that we are able to protect our female child. However, many of our speakers also emphasize the fact that when it comes to issue of sexual violence, it happens in both ways, where the female gender are also being abused in various forms. The way, apart from the general way of abuse, there are other way of sexual abuse. Sexual abuse is not only rape, like what our speaker said. Sexual abuse start from how you approach the other person sexually, the sexual content in your conversation, how you relate to the person, till it gets to the extreme stage. Every form of sexual abuse should not be taken for granted and should be dealt with. That is why there have to be laws, regulations that help us to address this subject. We have a lot of conversation here. Mrs. Vivian said, awesome conversation on this topic. Dysfunctional society stems from dysfunctional homes. So from home front, let's raise children who feel safe, confident, accountable, respectful, and protect other people's right. Yeah, thanks so much for the presentation. Breaking the cycle requires aligned responsibility at home, in society, and through governance. And this reminds me of what I experienced yesterday. There is where my parents live. I went there some days ago. Okay, some time ago. So I saw this particular girl who needed assistance to do jam. She wanted to take jam. She wanted to go to school, and I wanted to do my own little that I could do. Then just yesterday, fast forward to yesterday, when I was going through status. Then I saw this girl's status. What she put on at the top was not, something very that is just covering her breast, and is very transparent, like black, transparent showing her breast. And I was not like, okay, maybe she has worn bra. I said, did you wear bra? I said, no, she didn't wear bra. Why will you wear such a transparent cloth and you wear a very small tight, very small tiny tight, and you made a video and you're posting it, and this is a girl of 18 years old. This is a 18 years old girl that has displayed such content online. Now, like what our speaker has said, this is not an excuse for anyone to sexually abuse her. But when we are talking about self-awareness, we believe that she's already sexually abusing herself to have presented herself in such a manner. So that is where the home comes in. The male child too, like what one of our speakers also said, where okay, I think it was our speaker, Mr. Antonia, that spoke about the story of a boy who was already going into sexual abuse and was interested in having carnal knowledge of her mother, to tell you the extent that she doesn't even know the brand of what it is because of the kind of exposure that she has been gotten to. So to train the male child to never, because at the end of the day, whatever you do, there is no excuse for it. If you sexually abuse someone because of the way he or she dresses, it is not an excuse for you to sexually abuse that person. So everybody has a responsibility. The government has a responsibility, the society has a responsibility, and the family also has a responsibility. So someone also said that where system fails to protect, cycles of violence repeat themselves. I agree so much with that. Sexual violence does not start in adult. It starts with what child are being taught, what society tolerates, and what system fails to correct. Parents need to be intentional about how they raise their children. I think we all are agreeing, or we all are moving. I've been mentioning about the parent, which tells us that the family is the foundation, and followed by the society, the street, the neighborhood where our children grow. I remember that there was a time, I don't think if it still happens, I think in Ilorin, I think it's Kwara State, they said there are some areas that if you dress anyhow, the women there will shout at you and send you back home. But these days, it's like due to liberation and stigmatization, the elders who do these things don't do them again to avoid being indicted one way or the other. So parents need to be intentional about how they raise their kids, especially in teaching values like respect, empathy, and self-control from a young age. Boys in particular should grow up clearly understanding the seriousness of sexual violence and the importance of consent, and also what they are also exposed to. The same way we are talking about the female, what the female is being exposed to, also what the male gender is also being exposed to. Sexual violence and the importance of consent, knowing that no one has a right to one's another's body no matter the situation. But beyond that, it is really about raising responsible, respectful human overall, creating open communication at home, leading by example, and correcting harmful mindset early. Correcting mindful mindset early can go a long way. If we get the upbringing right, we will start to see a real change in the society. So these are a lot of input. And someone also said, Pastor, please, I would love this topic to be treated again over here, please. Okay, thank you so much for that input. Mr. V also says, so called that as a consensus thing, you stepped in to correct a wrong attitude. How many people do this? Okay, I think that is a food for thought. Thank you for the kind words. My professional perspective, as someone in safety and awareness work, I see this topic as similar to risk prevention. Just as we identified any workplace hazard before the cause, society must identify the hidden societal or social hazard affecting girls before they prevent them from reaching their potential. Empowering the girl child is not just a gender issue. It is a development, safety, and nation building issue. A society that protects and empowers girls creates stronger families, safer communities, and better leadership outcomes. And this cannot be far from the truth. The importance of the female gender is very important. It is just like the soil. Because the more fertile the more nutritious a soil is, the more beautiful, the more sweet the fruit that comes out from it is. So when if you understand this great importance of the female gender, women are just producers. Those that actually make it happen, the real manufacturers, the real ones that actually make the world to be what it is today is the female gender. And that is why we must take extra caution in ensuring that we protect them with all our might, with all our power, from physical violence, from mental, sexual violence, and from every type form of harassment that comes towards them, because they define the future and the society that we will live in decades to come. Thank you so much, everyone, for your wonderful input, and also, most importantly, thank you, our wonderful speaker, for this conversation. And please, if you have any question, any contribution, please let us raise our hand if you have any question, contribution. I saw Mr. Sonny Vargase. I don't know if he's still there. He has been with us for so many years, and he has always been silent. I don't know. I think I saw him. Okay, Weasley is also here. I want to call on someone who is not a Nigerian to help us to present our certificate today for the first time. I saw Sonny Vargase some minutes ago. I saw him. Are you still there, Sonny Vargase? Okay, yeah, I can see you. Good afternoon, sir. Are you there? Can you hear me loud and clear? Hello, Sonny Vargase. Oh, I didn't call the name well. He has been with us for so many years. I always see him always with us, always joining all our sessions. Thank you so much, sir. I think is he unable to mute? Let me ask him to unmute. Please, if you have, in the absence of no question, once again, thank you, our wonderful speaker. I'll be calling on Wesley. Wesley, are you there? Can you unmute, please? Wesley, can you unmute? What is happening? Okay.
Sir, can you hear me, sir? Hello,
Yeah.
sir, can you hear my voice?
Yes, we can hear you.
Sorry, I'm in a very noisy place, so I can't easily speak so that you can hear me because the place is so noisy. Thank you very much, sir. Oga Waliu.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for always joining. We appreciate your presence. So on this note, please, on this note, let me call on one of us here to present this award to our speaker today. Mr. Adefela, are you there, sir? Mr. Adefela, are you there, sir?
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Yeah,
Good
thank
evening,
you so
everyone.
much.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Please kindly help us to present this certificate of appreciation to our wonderful speaker today.
Thank you very much, sir. Mrs. Anthony Berry, thank you very much. I've been one of your followers from the days of Bagada to Lekki, and you have been a very interesting person to be looking up to. And thank you for delivering this topic for today. It was very interactive. And then we'd like to say, on behalf of CODA Safety Consult, we present to you this certificate of appreciation for the presentation of the webinar today. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for the honor. I'm happy to have been honored with this. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, ma. Thank you for helping us to address this topic, and also gearing us up, energizing us, letting us understand that this is a subject that needs to be addressed in the society, and waking us up from our slumber on the importance of building a holistic society that protects our female child, our girl child, and that stops the subject matter of sexual violence. Thank you once again, and we appreciate your leadership thought to have sacrificed your time. You are a very busy woman to have sacrificed your time, your energy to come, and I know even aside from coming to present, you have actually sacrificed your time to prepare for this wonderful presentation. Thank you once again. And please, on this note, we'll also thank everyone for coming around. I can see our board member, Eastman board member, Mr. Loki. Thank you for joining us, sir. I can see Mrs. Taylor. I can see Akim Mukhtar. I can see Mr. Felix. I can see Mr. Abdulbasit, Aninuri, Mr. Wale Oritola, Mrs. Vivian. Yes, and everyone who contributed today, Mr. Theophilus Banigo, Mrs. Oni Nwagu, thank you for your contribution, and every other person who contributed to this conversation. Next week is another week where we'll be having another enlightenment series. As you can see, yes, thank you, Mr. or Mrs. Adeolu. Thank you for joining us for the first time. We appreciate you. Thank you for joining us for the first time. I hope you enjoy your section today. Yes, as you can see on our flyer, this is the 96th webinar. 96th, meaning that we have done 96 webinars so far since the COVID era. We have invited various speakers to speak on various topics, including myself also, to educate, enlighten, and to help support the world in terms of awareness, in terms of education, in terms of exposure, in terms of building professional capacity via our YouTube channel. You can go there, you will see a lot of our videos there, and most importantly, the 96th webinar, including this, will be present on the YouTube channel. Yes, the 96 webinars that we have discussed so far. Thank you for every speaker who has taken to the podium to educate us, and most importantly, thank you, Mrs. Antonia Berry, for being our 96th webinar presenter, trainer, facilitator, and speaker. Next week, we are going to have a very important topic, which is mostly focused on safety. It's a core safety topic, and our speaker is ready tomorrow on Sunday, next week Sunday, and I hope you'll be there to also join on the 97th webinar. I hope that when it gets to the 100th webinar, only God knows, we don't know how we want to do the 100th one, but we want it to be very engaging if possible. I don't know yet, but fingers crossed on that. So thank you so much for everyone who has been with us from day one, from the first webinar to the 10th, to the 20th, to the 25th, 30th, 35th, 40th, 45th, 50th, 60th, 70th, 80th, 90th, now 96th webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. Without you, that would not be possible. And on this note, I want us to unmute. Thank you, Mr. Yekini Kolawole, for also being here. Mr. Sharif, thank you. I can't mention all your names. Thank you, everyone. On this note, I want everyone to unmute and thank our speaker. And our speaker was also one of our speakers for setting the pace 4.0. Yes, meaning that it shows you that they are committed to contributing to the society in every possible way that they can. So let us unmute now and appreciate our speaker for coming to speak with us and educate us today. So we have the opportunity to unmute and thank our speaker. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Let us hear your thank you. You can unmute. I think everyone has the opportunity to unmute. Please let us unmute and thank our speaker, Mr. Israel Etuk. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you
very
too.
much, our speaker. We appreciate you.
So much.
Thank you so much, our speaker. We appreciate. Thank you so much. God bless you for this lecture.
Thank you very much, speaker.
Thank you. As we go back to our various workplace,
this is really an educating session.
As we go back to our various society, our various communities, let's play an active role in ending gender or sexual violence. And on this note, we'll be ending it as usual from 10 to 1, where we'll meet again next week. and we are going to close it out today. On the count of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye. Good night and have a lovely weekend.